Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll J and RJ.
I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ, aka the talent here.
Lord. We just want to thank everybody for all the time and effort. You can just cover him with your hand like this whenever you're ready. We just want to, say thank you and appreciate everything that you guys do for us, all the love and feedback that you guys give to us. Just want to let you know that, you can check us out on our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications when our new content rolls out. Make sure you check out our audio-only platforms, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and iHeartRadio. You can also check out all our social media on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, or if you're like me and lazy, RJ has got all that set up for you at our website, nowthatmentionit.org, where you can just, pick and choose your platform that you want to check us out on. And don't forget to click that merch button. Shoot on over to our friends at Three Dog Apparel and get you some Now That You Mention It swag. I noticed that. I know for a fact you two jokers have your Now That You Mention It swag at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. And no, Now That You Mention It swag on the podcast.
Well, okay. So
the Russian mafia finally came through for y'all.
I'm gonna be honest. I was planning to wear mine today. I had things to do work-wise, and so mine's sitting in the washer right now. I promise I'll have it ready next week. But
washing all the
I know for a fact as well he has his, so that's no longer an excuse.
Look at my finger. See where it says Tiger on spring break.
So you think that
I'm demonstrating the utmost commitment to this podcast by taking time off of my precious vacation to jump on this computer with you two bozos. So I think our viewing audience will give me a grace period that I don't have that you mentioned.
Let's be honest.
First of all,
if it weren't 50 degrees outside, you wouldn't be on the podcast. You'd be on a boat somewhere.
That's probably on the lake out there. First of all, and the other thing too is what you failed to mention to all our podcast viewers is yes, we have our swag, but you made us pay the $25.
He's got to cover the shipping costs, dude. Hey, the Russian mafia is not cheap, dude.
So he gets to keep the podcast money and charges us shipping.
I know, that's what I'm talking about, man. You want to talk
Can't even throw in free shipping or something.
Look, when I got to route stuff through Wuhan, China, up to Kazakhstan to get it to you jokers, that costs money, man. I don't know what to tell y'all.
Anyway, so
let's look. It's Houston's fault. That's all I can say.
Oh wow! Well,
wow.
Because this is a very, very special episode in which we have invited our good friends. Why don't you bring them in and introduce them, Jay?
Yeah. So from the Cinema Chat group on Facebook, we have our longtime contributor and friend of the show, Vaughn Franklin. Vaughn, how are you doing?
Hey there. Roll J and RJ, how you guys doing?
Doing all right, my friend.
Good.
I'm okay. These two, they got problems. And again, frequent contributor and also member of the Cinema Chat group on Facebook, our friend Stephanie Fuller. How are you doing, Stephanie?
Hey, Stephanie.
Great and getting better.
All right. Awesome.
Good. Well, guys, we have been planning to do a movie show for a while. We just, other things kind of take precedent. We had to move stuff around. Snowmageddon happened. And then other stuff, happened, and stimulus checks, worrying about, making sure RJ gets funded.
Oh my gosh.
Dak got his contract. Yeah, things happen.
We had to make sure that that Roland got his kickback from Sleepy Joe. We had to make sure everything was good. No, guys, we just want to say welcome back to the program. How are you guys doing?
Thank you.
Good.
Excited to be here.
So at this time, right now, Vaughn, I know that you are in the midst of your own tournament in the cinema chat group. Why don't you fill us in a little bit?
Yeah, so what I did was I got 64 of the top grossing movies of all time, adjusted for inflation, not just pure money. And I put them in a tournament. We're down to the, what do you call, the second round right now. It's going good. It's going good. We're going to have some heavy hitters here in the Sweet 16. But yeah, I like where it's going. Although y'all
So,
broke my heart getting rid of Gone with the Wind.
okay, so let me ask you this: when you were looking through the movies and trying to figure out how you were going to seed them, what was the highest grossing movie with inflation? What was the number one overall seed in your bracket?
Gone with the Wind.
Wow. So
And
what was the total?
it was over 1 billion. They said if you
Wow.
adjust it for inflation, and I'm sure they didn't really have TV back then, so people went to the movies, and the movie
Yeah.
stayed there longer. We had a movie as popular as Gone with the Wind. I'm sure it stayed there for probably over a year or two. So yeah, it
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah, we just don't do that anymore. Movies come, they're staying there for about 5 weeks and then gone.
I
Yeah,
know,
I saw Gone with the Wind in the theater on one of the anniversary fest.
Yeah,
I
and they
wonder if
re
they include those ticket
they
sales.
do. Yeah, they do.
oh man, then I would have thought the Sound of Music would have been high on the chart because I mean,
So,
hell,
Sound
I
of
mean,
Music's number 4. They're the number 4 seed.
Hey Vaughn,
Mm.
can I take a wild guess and say that Xanadu did not make it anywhere on that list?
Even if it did make it on the list, I would have conveniently left it off. So
Well,
no, but it
my,
wasn't on
my
That's
the
all
wife
I
wanted,
needed to hear.
my wife wanted me to point out that Goodfellas wasn't on that list,
list.
but
Yeah,
The
it didn't
Godfather
make.
was.
Makes
That's
sense.
Godfather was huge. That was the
well,
biggest movie
okay.
that year.
I'm just pointing it out for my.
Oh, that's right.
Probably
Hey, but
probably the best mob movie ever made.
That's right.
when you look at the
What do
fact
you
that
probably.
no, well, I mean that's debatable.
To who? It didn't even make the top 64.
Dude,
It
okay,
probably wouldn't even make the top 100.
okay, we can have a whole hour conversation about how much
Yeah,
better
we
Goodfellas
could,
is
but the
than
facts are the
Godfather.
facts. I
But that's
mean,
not why we're that's not why we're here today, guys. The topic of the day. I asked you guys to come up with your top 5 favorite movie characters. Also taking into account that there may be a chance that movie character has multiple iterations. I'll add James Bond. James Bond's been around for you know 50 years. It seems like, and multiple people have played James Bond. So I took that into account, and I just want to know if you did have a character on your list with multiple movies under his belt, multiple actors playing him. Who is your favorite actor? So, in the spirit of that, I'm going to take our youngest person, and we're start with him because I'm figuring there's a lot of Disney characters on this list.
you would be wrong, but okay. I'm more than happy to be the lead because I am the talent on this podcast. So, so I don't have these in necessarily any order. I put quite a bit into thought of this, and it was a little bit hard for me to cut it down to 5, but I think I've got my 5. So I'll start with Michael Corleone. No other actors played him because the movie was that great. No need to remake it. So, but I think for me, I think I'm one of the things I'm going to clarify on this when I pick these people. Do you want me to name all 5 at once or just one by?
I tell you what, name them one at a time and give us a little bit of insight why.
Okay, so Michael Corleone, he obviously in the movie he's kind of skittish, if you will, shy in the beginning. Doesn't more into the military life and not necessarily as involved in things with the family business, if you will. But then you see him kind of step into that role, and I think throughout the movie, you really see him start to change. And his defining moment is that scene where he, the gun's in the restroom and he goes and gets it to kill Salazzo and the chief. I think that's a turn for him. And honestly, for me, the best part is when he's at the baptism and he's able to arrange all those killings that took place. I think that was a very, I don't know what the word is, but very character defining moment for him. So to see him kind of go from being kind of the, don't worry about it, Michael, we've got this kind of character, to becoming really the head of the family. That's one of the reasons he's on my list. Next would be Darth Vader / Anakin. Obviously, they're both played by different characters, but in the context of the movies, they're the same person. He's really, when you think about it, probably the coolest villain that exists. I'm a big Thanos fan, but Darth Vader did it
man,
first.
It's going to be hard to come up with another movie villain as beloved and hated as he is. I know Thanos came to mind too, but yeah, I don't think that that's really a comparison.
Yeah, and I thought about putting Thanos on my list, but to some extent, I felt like he was a little bit of a repetition, and I didn't want to make it too villain heavy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like I said, to some extent, he's one of the originals. He's a classic. I can't tell you how I have a Darth Vader earpod case for my headphones. I've got a Darth Vader cross pin. So I'm a big Vader fan, and I think the transgression that you see throughout the films, from him as Anakin to becoming Darth Vader, you see that he wasn't always evil. You know what I mean? He was very relatable, but when he did become Darth Vader, he was remorseless, fearless, and then obviously once you find out that Luke is his son, you kind of see a little bit more soft side to him. He wants to bond with Luke. He obviously tells him, to join him, those kinds of things. And ultimately, when it came down to it, Luke was more important to him, I would argue, than the dark side. So, that's my explanation for that. Next is going to be Joker, specifically the one from The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger. Jack Nicholson did a great job as Joker too, but Heath Ledger was just my favorite because he was a bit nasty and very unpredictable. And I think a lot of the things he said in the movie, to some extent, are things that are relatable and very true in this life. It's he just, in my opinion, he killed the performance. I don't know that I can speak to it much more than that. I know you haven't seen it, Uncle Jay, but you really should give it the time.
I've seen enough snippets of it that I think I get it. And I'm gonna let you finish your list, but I have something to say about your list, so keep going.
Well, I mean, I wish I would have only given Xanadu snippets of my time, but anyways. So, I just like when, for example, when he gave both boats the ability to blow up the other, and yet neither did it. That was a defining moment in that movie, but I don't know. There's just so many in that movie. I really think you need to see it. Next is going to be one that I'm going to be honest about. I can't say that this is something that this is a character that, I've watched from a young person. It's something that I discovered when we did the Now That You Mention It tournament, but I love the movie, was Rick Blaine from Casablanca. Like we said back then, as soon as we watched that movie, I thought Rick was the coolest character. For me, his defining moment was, obviously throughout the movie, he kind of tries to stay neutral, stay out of the ongoing tension. But then there's that scene where he has the band, um, start playing and drown out the Nazis, which is a tiny but pivotal gesture for his character in that movie.
Yeah.
And in the end, of course, with what happens, he has what's her name? I'm sorry.
Ilsa.
Yeah, he basically kind of gives up his dream with her, for the greater good, kind of, if you will. And then last but certainly not least, I'm gonna say Jay Gatsby, and more specifically, Leonardo DiCaprio's Jay Gatsby. I loved the book, reading it in high school. I thought Leo did it. I haven't seen the original, so yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but I think Leo did a really great job of capturing kind of what Jay Gatsby was, that new money type of person, very flashy, but Leo's just a good actor in general, and so I feel like he displayed his love affair, if you will, for Daisy very well, while also maintaining that kind of new money image. Hard to not pick any Leonardo DiCaprio role in your top 5, because in my opinion he's one of the best of all time. But that's my list, guys.
Well, it's a good list, and something that you said there kind of made me wonder where your headspace was when you said, well, it was hard for you to not choose all villains, and the first 3 you listed are villains.
Yeah.
I kind of started to sense a theme, but I will say this: go back and give Robert Redford a shot. Go watch The Great Gatsby from 1974. I think that you'll like that. It's a good movie. I have to be honest. I don't think I've seen the version with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. Now it makes me want to go see it now that you say it, but no, that's not a bad list at all. That's a good list. I like a couple of characters on there. I think we'll be fairly surprised what's coming up next. So I'll tell you what, Vaughn, I'm going to have you go next, bud.
And I'm going to repeat one of RJ's there, because first on my list is Darth Vader. Specifically, if we're going to, I mean, obviously it was the same guy that played Darth Vader, but specifically Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
That's when I realized how much I liked him, because I was actually cheering for him at the end over Luke. And I did in Return of the Jedi too. But yeah, Darth Vader's just amazing. He's like the coolest villain ever to me. And I did like Anakin. He was fine, but once he became Darth Vader, he gets a lot cooler to me.
Yeah.
And when we were little, we had our little Star Wars toys.
Oh,
I was cool. I was cool with the Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, but what I wanted most of all was Darth. And once I got Darth, I was fine.
Everybody wanted Darth Vader, man.
I had to have Darth. Number 2, complete opposite, is Superman. Is my one of my favorites, top 5. Specifically, Christopher Reeve is Superman, because I like heroes that always do the right thing. He didn't have to have an edge to him like they all want now, where somebody has an edge or they're questioning themselves. Superman, at least in the Christopher Reeve movies, didn't question himself. He just wanted to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I love him, except for one of the dumbest things I ever saw is when he made the Earth spin and go in reverse.
Dude, no, hold on, man. Come on. That is one of the greatest time travel methods out there.
That's right.
Come on, man. All the time travel methods in every movie you've ever seen, that got to be the coolest way to do it. Let's make the Earth go backwards.
Scientifically, he would have destroyed the Earth in doing that.
Dude, come on. Okay.
You're telling me that was cooler than the DeLorean? Are you kidding me?
That was absolutely cooler than the DeLorean, dude.
No.
Yes. What? Okay, that's another debate for another day.
But yeah, I love Superman. And then honestly, I did like now what's the guy, Henry Cavill, that's playing Superman now?
Yeah.
I liked his, because he showed, which I've always told people, that Superman doesn't really get beat up by anybody. He tests how strong you are before he fights back. They never really showed that until they showed him against Batman, because we all know he could have destroyed Batman with one punch. He was sitting there letting Batman hit him. He's like, okay, I know how strong this guy is. I'll fight him this way. And I was like, yes, finally they showed that. Number 3, and I had to do a toss up on this one because I was gonna do Randy Watson from Coming to America, but it's Smokey from Friday. I don't think anybody's ever made me laugh more than Smokey
Dude,
and
That's
Friday.
a great
Almost
one.
that
every
is a great one.
line was cracking me up. The way he talked to his mother, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, man, just open the door." Oh,
It ain't
Smokey,
enough. Make it enough.
everything. And I'm telling you, if they made another Friday and Smokey came back, it would make $100 million. The funniest character I've ever seen in a movie. Next is John McClane from Die Hard.
I knew
Uh,
that one was going to make an
yeah,
appearance.
I did
yeah,
too.
I
I
knew
told
it.
my husband. I said I can guess at least 2 of Vaughn's.
yeah. What was the
I
other
can
one?
guess at least one of yours, Stephanie.
Oh yeah, we know.
God.
I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, we know Stephanie's. But yeah, John McClane. He's just coolest cop, and he. It was just normal. He was a normal guy, but he sat there and saved everybody. It was amazing. And the villain did help him too, because I think Alan Rickman might be the second greatest villain of all time in movies. And
Yeah.
probably my favorite is Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, because he had the whole town basically against him, but he did the right thing. And like I said, I like heroes that always do the right thing. Didn't matter what they were telling him, and they were going to destroy him if he did this, and you can't do that, but you do the right thing, good things happen. Almost makes me want to cry thinking about Atticus Finch. But yeah, Atticus probably. Yeah, I think he is my favorite movie character of all time.
I guess those 2.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 I can figure
tell
out.
you, Superman, I had to really think long and hard about not including him on my list. I really wanted to, but I was like, you know what? I'm almost certain Superman's going to make an appearance somewhere else. I was more than certain that Darth Vader was going to make an appearance somewhere else. But yeah, those are 2 really, really, really iconic characters on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Oh yeah.
But good list. Bro, let's get yours.
No. Let's get Stephanie's.
All right, Steph.
Okay. Well, I really liked how it was such an open-ended question that I decided to narrow the scope. And Superman would have been on my list had I include men. I decided
Oh, Lord.
Well, so far we have no women.
No,
That's
you're right.
true.
And on your villains podcast, you had no women. So I thought I would be surprised if any of you have a woman character on your list. Do you?
I have a runner-up on my list, but I didn't put her on.
Okay.
Annie Wilkes was my runner-up. I was real close to putting her on there.
Well, I decided to limit mine to fierce females, fierce and determined females. I also wanted to have no villains because I wanted to celebrate these women. And I chose all fictional characters too, because I didn't want to argue Ruth Bader Ginsburg versus the women in, Hidden Figures. So I also actually have 2 lists. One list I'm going to say very quickly, and you probably won't know many on this list, but it's girls, because it's so important for there to be movies that everyone can relate to. And like when I was growing up, I saw The Journey of Natty Gann, and Natty Gann inspired me. So there's one.
It's a good one.
I also really liked Paikea in Whale Rider, Wajida. That's a Saudi film. Little Orphan Annie in Annie. And I've only seen the first one in this, but I know of her character, and that's Hermione Granger in Harry Potter series. So there you go. There's five females. And I even thought about putting Scout on there from To Kill a Mockingbird. I guess she could be an honorable mention.
Yeah.
But so that's my girl list, because before you're a woman, you're a girl. Skipping to my lady list, fierce ladies. I'm going to go to number 1 because y'all know it. You could all shout it out.
Go ahead.
Ripley in Sigourney Weaver, smart, strong, courageous, emotionally fit, a leader. I mean, my number one character, male or female. But then I'll go to number 5, and I reached back to a classic. This is my mother's favorite film, and it's The African Queen. Rose Sayer, played by Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
And I really liked how she was an independent woman of her time and just tried to do the right thing. Number 4, I'm not going to talk too much about these because I just want to hear your thoughts on them. But number 4, I went with Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. Number 3, I really, really, really wanted to represent motherhood on my list. And there's no greater film about motherhood than Terms of Endearment. And you have Aurora, played by Shirley MacLaine, and Emma, played by Deborah Winger, and they're both trying to do right by their children. And there's some really dramatic and emotional scenes in there. It's probably a good thing I watched it before I became a parent, because I was talking to my mother about this last night, and I got choked up talking about the scenes that moved me when I was young, and now I can't even talk about them because they're just so intense.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, if you thought about it, you could probably guess this one, and that's Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton in the Terminator series. And she has a great transformation from the first movie, where she is soft and
timid,
but her transformation to the second movie, she lost her partner. She fell in love. She had a partner.
Mm-hmm.
They had a child. She lost her partner. So she rose to become, a single parent and changed herself physically. She educated herself. She was set to protect her son in every way. And the transformation was amazing. So those are my lists.
Well, what I was going to say, Stephanie, this is why it's such a great thing that Jay brought you on, because I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes we tend to be a little bit myopic. Well, number one, first of all, it's a very hard thing to do, to boil down a number of excellent characters into a list of 5. So it's always that. But more importantly, you're absolutely right. I think if it had just been the 4 of us here, none of us would have had a single woman on our list. And it's from that understanding that I think each one of us relates more to the male antagonist of just about any movie, or protagonist if you want to go Darth Vader and those guys. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. So I think that was a fantastic list. For me, obviously I'm a big Sigourney Weaver fan, but your number 2, Linda Hamilton in the Terminator series, outstanding character, no doubt about it. Sarah Connor was really a great character.
Yeah, the thing is, especially with a lot of these movie characters, it's hard to imagine, somebody playing some of these characters. Like I don't think you could have ever you can imagine anybody else being Sarah Connor other than Linda Hamilton. And like, even though you do have characters that will have multiple actors, I mean, Superman, that's a good example, because for me, I think one of the reasons why I didn't put Superman on my list was because I couldn't choose between the Henry Cavill version and the Christopher Reeves version. I think it was just too hard for me to say which one I liked more, because I do like them both. But that list that you just gave us, I mean, I knew Ripley was going to be on there. Aliens is such a great, franchise. It's such a great movie. And I really enjoy it. And Roland's right. Had you not come on with us today, this would have been a list dominated by men, because I don't think we think in that mindscape of, oh, well, a woman. We just don't. This is why you're so important to these movie discussions. But okay, that's a great list. I like the inclusion of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, good one.
That's one of my wife's favorite movies. I remember when Wonder Woman came out, She watched it 186 and a half times straight. She stalked there's the music theme throughout, and the violinist who has her main theme. I think my wife went and stalked her on YouTube and found her and watched several of her concerts on YouTube, and she's really amazing violinist. She's really good, but good list, bro. Let's get yours.
All right. Well, anybody who's seen some of our previous podcasts would probably know that a number of these characters are going to be tied to movies that I find to be in my top 5 anyway. But obviously, Michael Corleone is a repetitive one, so I won't necessarily go back over him, but he's on my list. Interestingly enough, I chose The Grinch. Because I think perennially we always watch Christmas movies. We talked about it when we talked about our Christmas show. We all have those movies that we always watch. I actually went with the Jim Carrey version because I think he does a tremendous job. Hold on.
You're such a hater.
But
Someone who likes Xanadu.
Jim Carrey is such an ass.
But the thing is, the Boris Karloff version is right up there with me. The only difference is, the Boris Karloff version is a cartoon that's 30 minutes, and it's hard to really appreciate him because for me, the Jim Carrey, the whole movie that they redid, to me, that was just a much more, I guess you get more involved in the whole thing under the Jim Carrey version. The next is Ben Kenobi, Ewan McGregor. Because I think while we celebrate Luke Skywalker as the hero and eventually Rey, I think we undervalue what Ben Kenobi actually brought to the entire story arc. And my favorite, while Sir Alec Guinness was obviously the standard bearer with that character in the first 3 movies, I really felt the character was developed with Ewan McGregor. So that's what I put him on.
I would agree with that.
Surprisingly, I chose Howard Ratner under Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler.
Wow.
Psych.
All time. I was about to say,
Me too.
what in the world?
I just wanted to yank y'all's chains. Actually, I have Robin Williams as Patch Adams. I love that character. I love that movie. And there were so many roles that Robin Williams, I could have gone with Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if y'all have seen What Dreams May Come. He was superb in that movie.
Absolutely.
But when I had to sit there and think about characters, if I really wanted to focus on a single character, Patch Adams was it for me. And then the last is, of course, Batman. And while for me, I always have this huge internal debate about Batman versus Superman. The one thing I always default to is Superman had superpowers. Batman is just a man with resources, but he's just a man. So to me, that's why Batman will always be just a notch above Superman. And of course, my favorite version of him is Michael Keaton. There's my list.
Yeah, it's funny you say that when you say Batman's just a man. I was about to say, but like Ben Affleck said in the Justice League movie,
resources.
What's your superpower? I'm rich.
I'm rich.
That's the only superpower you gotta have. I'm rich.
I'm rich.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Robin Williams and Flubber.
No.
I can't with Jim Carrey. I just can't. Dude,
You're a hater. That's what it is.
That dude whips my ass to no end.
You don't like any Jim Carrey movies?
Ace Ventura.
Man,
I cannot stand Ace Ventura.
What about Man in the Moon?
If I catch that movie, that's a quick turn off. Which one?
Man in the Moon. Oh, what was that one where he was a reality show guy?
Truman
the Truman
Show.
Show. You know what?
Yeah.
The Truman Show was decent. I mean, as far because he's not over the top in that one, and I think that's my problem with Jim Carrey is he tends to play the same character over. He's got like Adam Sandler. He's the same person in every movie. That over the top. Gotta all that slapstick stuff. I can't do it with Jim Carrey. I just can't.
What about the mask?
No,
The mask was so awesome. Get out of here with that.
nah, can't do it. All right, so we're gonna roll through my list, and kind of like you guys, a couple of the characters on my list are from a couple of my all-time favorite movies, and I honestly thought I was gonna be the only one with this character in here, and it surprised me that he made an appearance on RJ's list. My number 5 was Rick Blaine from Casablanca. He's just one of my all-time favorite characters. He's so smooth. He's like the epitome of cool. The way he transforms himself in the movie from being just an apathetic, just couldn't care less about anybody other than himself kind of person to being the sympathetic, hey, I need to do what's right to help the cause kind of person, just because of love. That that makes him a top-notch character in my book.
And real quick, I just want to interrupt you real quick. I would say that that's a movie they shouldn't remake, and that movie's better in black and white.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll agree with you. And you know what? And the reason I like that movie so much is because of Humphrey Bogart's portrayal of him. And like I said, that movie made me want to go back and watch older movies. Before I saw Casablanca, I had zero interest in going back and watching older movies. And as after I saw that, I started to investigate the Maltese Falcon, the African Queen, movies of that nature that I probably would have never given a chance had I not fallen in love with Casablanca. But yeah, good character. Number 4 on my list is Crash Davis from Bull Durham.
Yes.
Kevin Costner, such a great movie. His portrayal of, just a guy who's just trying to get by in life. He's, at the tail end of his baseball career. He's, infamous for having a record he doesn't really want, in having the most home runs hit in the minor leagues. And then, just the chemistry with him and Susan Sarandon in that movie. His wisdom that he imparts on a young baseball player. He's just one of my all-time favorite characters. He's really smooth. And I like how sarcastic he is, when Nuke Lelouch is not listening to him on the mound, he goes and he teaches him a lesson. He's like, look, I'm going to teach you one way or the other. You're going to learn one way or the other. So he goes up and tells the batter what he's pitching so that the guy takes him home. That's one of my favorite scenes. But I love that movie. I love that character. And surprisingly, Kevin Costner, the only appearance he's made on anybody's list. I would have thought any other Kevin Costner character out there might have made a list, but surprised by that. Number 3 on my list, and no surprise that Star Wars, I think, made a heavy impact on this list. And I know, you guys went with Darth Vader and Roland. I like your inclusion of Ben Kenobi over Luke Skywalker. But for me, Han Solo was my favorite character in the entire franchise.
Han, first of all.
Well, Han Solo, whatever. But I'm not going to have that debate with him, dude. I'm not. Han Solo. But, Harrison Ford's portrayal of him, and, with the portrayal of Alden, I can't even pronounce that dude's last name, Aaron Reich, I think is his last name in the Solo movie. Han Solo, when I of all the characters that died in the Star Wars franchise, the only one that brought a tear to my eye was when Ben killed Han Solo. When he stabs his father in the gut with his lightsaber, I cried. I just, even when Carrie Fisher died, and Princess Leia is one of my favorite characters too, but I did not shed a tear for her. I felt really horrible, really bad. but Han was the only one I cried for when he got killed. And I don't know why, but he's my all-time favorite Star Wars character. Number 2 on my list, and it surprised me that none of these movies make it into my top 5 as favorite movies, but the character in and of itself is one of my favorites, is Indiana Jones. And another Harrison Ford, led franchise, but I love Indy Jones, man. He, the action sequences, the music, every time the music comes on, you get that chill. Dun, 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 dun. You just can't help but dude, root for him. And the fact that he's not just an adventurer, he's a scholar. He's teaching classes at the college on archaeology, and the fact that he's kind of clueless to the fact that women think he's all that. He's got all these girls in he can't understand why 95% of his archaeology class is women. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that they're here not to learn about archaeology. They're there to see him.
Real quick, how did that theme song go again?
Dun, 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 dun. Dude, come on.
I'm going to make a TikTok about that.
Go right ahead. I don't care. And my number 1 favorite character of all time in any movie, and even though the movies don't make it into my top 5, is a character that I just find so endearing, and I really do like him that much, and that's Albus Dumbledore. And the Richard Harris version, the version that's in the first 2 Harry Potter movies, is my favorite, because to me, in that version, he seems more fatherly towards Harry, like he does in the books. I think the Michael Gambon version of him is a little bit too off. He's too rough. He doesn't treat Harry, I think, with the same grandfatherly reverence that he does in the books. And Jude Law also portrayed Dumbledore in the Fantastic Beasts series. He does an admirable job, but Richard Harris is my favorite version of Albus Dumbledore. But that I don't know why. He's my all-time favorite character in any movie franchise. I just like. I'm a big Harry Potter fan to begin with. I've read all the books multiple times, seen all the movies multiple times. I own all the movies. But Dumbledore, and he's another one of those characters that when he died, I cried. Like a little baby.
So your favorite character? Your favorite character is an old man with a long beard and a dress. I just want to make sure I understand this correctly.
But badass wizard powers.
Did I didn't
I'm more
watch all of them.
surprised that he had the audacity to say Jim Carrey as the Grinch was terrible, but Indiana, he had Harrison Ford as 2 characters in his top 5.
Well, first of all, Indiana Jones and even Han Solo have very similar characteristic traits to some degree. They're lovable scoundrels, even though Indy's not he's not really a scoundrel per se, but it's that lovable scoundrel aspect of both those characters. And I will say, I can see why you did those 2, and I can't really dispute it.
I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm just saying he has the audacity to say Jim Carrey as the Grinch was terrible.
He just doesn't like Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey has 0 acting ability.
Oh wow!
I'll throw that out there right now.
All I know is he got more money in the bank than you do.
Well, yeah. If you're look.
If he was, I'm just saying.
You know what? I'm not gonna have this debate with you, dude. I'm just not.
I had a question. Did Dumbledore's character change much when the actors changed in the movies?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can see the shift in their traits, character traits. When
while you're right, the original actor in the first 2 movies, he was the better Dumbledore. I think, even though I wasn't playing, because unfortunately he passed away.
Yeah.
To some extent, it played out well, because while you can say, yeah, he was, rough around the edges in the latter movies, he had to be, because you got to remember he was going to fight dark magic. He was fighting evil itself. and of course that was going to seep into him some
Well,
bit. So while it wasn't planned, I think it played out pretty well.
Well, what I was also going to say is if you read the book, I mean, I know you've read the books, but I'm just saying, to me, the subtle transformation of Dumbledore in the books was because he was doing it to protect Harry.
Yeah.
And so while he was definitely distant, cold, and maybe even a little gruff with Harry, it to me, it followed the books. Honestly, I felt that it did follow the books. The first two, of course, Harry's learning who he is and what he is and all of that. But by those last three, I mean, the last 5 movies, Dumbledore was a different character, in my opinion.
Interesting. I had a question for Stephanie. How'd you like Amelia Clark as Sarah Connor? Wow.
It's been a while since I've seen
Silence
that.
says everything.
I like Amelia Clark, but it's whenever you think of a character, it's the combination of what the writer created and the actor brings to the person. And I actually like both Linda Hamilton and Amelia Clark and the character. So I liked them both. But of course, when you think of Sarah Connor, you think of Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I think that's just one of those things where you have somebody who when they make an iconic role in an iconic movie, because when you think of Terminator, what's the first thing that crosses everybody's mind?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's T2. When you talk about the Terminator franchise, the marquee of the Terminator franchise, even though in my mind, the first Terminator is 100 times better story-wise than the second Terminator movie, everybody talked about the second Terminator movie because it's got all the slick,
special effects.
Yeah, it's visually better. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
and so
that's how I felt when it came out, and I loved the Terminator, the original, better.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked some of the later ones too.
Mm-hmm.
As much.
But I would also say too that I think Linda Hamilton, we got to experience her playing the actor, the part throughout the entire transformation. Because again, going back to that first part of the movie, she was scared. She was, you could kind of say weak, if you will. Certainly unsure of herself. And once she came to grips with now the role she had to play, her character embraced it and she knew that she was protecting more than just her child. As Stephanie pointed out, she knew she was protecting the future of humanity, which you want to talk about putting a burden on a mother. That's a burden beyond measure. And she not only embraced it, but she kicked ass doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's a lot of these lists. I like these kind of lists because these are the kind of lists that make you think. They're very thought provoking in your approach to putting together a list. I mean, why? I think when you look at the fact that I think some of our favorite characters are not included in our top 5 favorite movies of all time. I mean, when you go back and look at the list that we made for our top 5 favorite movies of all time, why is it that you wouldn't have at least one character from every one of those movies on this list? But just because of I guess the specific plot points and development of a character, it's what's going to make this list. It makes it, I think, a lot more thought-provoking than just your favorite movie overall. But no, these are really good lists. I really appreciate you guys sharing them with us tonight. And Stephanie, Vaughn, as always, it's been a great pleasure having you guys on with us again. And hopefully we'll be able to get you on again for another episode here. I know, we're rolling up on our 1-year anniversary coming up very soon here on the Now That You Mentioned It podcast.
Very soon, yeah.
And we'll look at, what we can do to get you guys on for that. And we really appreciate your time, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thanks.
Good night, guys. Before we close it out, a couple things I want to say. I think my list was pretty consistent with my top 5 list. Godfather's on my top 5. The Dark Knight was on my top 5. And hold on, there's one more. Star Wars. I'm almost 100% sure Star Wars was on my top 5. But I can see how, why they would differ, because you may like the entirety of a movie for a different reason than you like a certain character. Mm-hmm. And one thing that you said earlier, like I know Darth Vader and Joker are both villains, but I wouldn't say, you were saying that mine was at the beginning was pretty full of villains. I wouldn't say that Michael Corleone is a villain. Now he has some, he definitely does some bad things, but
he's a mob boss. That makes him.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Well,
he's a mob boss. So
he had to be. I mean, that was the.
He didn't have to be.
Well, he didn't have to be, but
that's like saying Pablo Escobar wasn't a villain. I mean, he's just a guy. No, dude, Pablo Escobar was a drug kingpin, and when you think about Michael Corleone, what is he? What is his character? What is his whole role? He's the godfather of a major crime syndicate. He's a villain, dude. There's no.
Okay, yes. I guess that's what I'm trying to clarify is that yes, I'm not disagreeing that what he does isn't bad, but I mean, yes, it's easy to say, well, he didn't have to go into the family business, but he could have gone and been this nice church boy. You don't think the other family mobs would have said, oh, he's a church boy, we'll leave him alone? I mean, they still would have came after him, but I hear your point. I do. I just don't think he's a villain in the same sense that Darth Vader and Joker were. I think it's a different category in and of itself.
Well, they're psychopathic killers, so
yeah.
Well, hey guys, I know we're getting on. We want to make sure that we don't get so long that when we after edits, this thing is gonna be an hour and a half. So I think it's time for us to go ahead and call it a night. But one thing that I want to do is. By the time this show airs, I will have celebrated my 30-year anniversary with my wife. So I want to say happy anniversary to my loving wife for putting up with me for this long.
I don't know how she does it, dude. I honestly don't.
I don't either. And it's like I tend to remind her, she married into this madness. I was born into it. She married into it. So therefore there's a higher degree of craziness on her part, I guess.
Well, congratulations to my parents, of course. But before we close it out, I will be happy St. Patrick's Day, even though by the time this airs, that'll be over with. I know I was gonna mention earlier when we first started, none of us were really wearing.
I had on a green shirt. I had on a green shirt, but it was washing out under the green screen.
Same thing.
That's
but
what happened to me too.
An idea for next week's episode, I think, kind of got. Well, let me back up a little bit. I will be going to Salt Bay's Steakhouse this weekend.
Oh my God! Seriously?
Yeah, not because I wanted to. A friend wanted to double date with my wife and I. One of my clients.
You got to tell me how that goes. I'm very interested.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably not gonna get. I know it's a steakhouse, but my client's already been. He told me, there's better steakhouses in Dallas. So I feel like if I go get a steak, I'm already gonna have that mindset in my mind.
Bob's Steak and Chop House.
So yeah, Nick and Sam's, Bob and Steak and Chop House. So I'm probably gonna get like lamb chops or something.
Make him come cook at your table. Make him come do this shit at your table, dude.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't want salt coming off this hairy arm onto my food, man. But anyways, the reason I brought that up is I think we should maybe do a continuation of our
Dallas episode. We had to do Dallas part 2.
Yeah, we had talked about maybe doing top restaurants in Dallas, and a continuation of that. So I think that can be inspiration. I can, mention how my experience was, and we can talk about our favorite restaurants here. But just an idea, guys.
Oh man, we forgot to let Vaughn plug his cinema chat group again. So why don't you plug it for him real quick, Jay? So then,
So you guys go check out Vaughn on the Cinema Chat group of Facebook there. His tournament, his March Madness tournament's running right now, so don't forget to vote. Get your votes in, and let's support him in that endeavor.
So with that, guys, we want to thank you again for tuning in for another episode. We certainly appreciate your time. We want to invite you to please hit the like and subscribe button below so you get notified every time we drop an episode here on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out on Reddit, Instagram. Check out our Facebook page as well, TikTok and Twitter. And don't forget to check out our audio formats if you're, tired of looking at our ugly faces. I totally get it. So Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and iHeartRadio. So anyway, and if any of that is too much to remember, just go to the NowThatYouMentionIt.org website, where not only you can click on any of those links, but you can put more money in this guy's pocket when you buy merch.
Well, I don't think anybody gets tired of looking at this masterpiece, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, well, just remember the artist that made it.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I got you there. So with that, guys, I want to say goodnight to y'all, and thank you to Jesse P, because we couldn't do it without him.
Amen.
Oh, and thanks to Vaughn and Stephanie for joining us on this episode.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. And Jim Carrey is the Houston of acting.